In 1987, Hironobu Sakaguchi kicked off his legendary career by directing the very first Final Fantasy game, a project that launched a series for the ages. Over the next several years, he directed the first 5 entries and played a pivotal role in nearly every installment up until Final Fantasy X-2, and even supervised one of my personal favorites, Chrono Trigger. After parting ways with Square in 2003, the father of Final Fantasy founded Mistwalker Studio the following year. Mistwalker went on to deliver cult favorites like Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, and The Last Story before shifting gears toward mobile gaming. But after a nostalgic dive into Final Fantasy VI, Sakaguchi rekindled his passion for narrative-driven adventures. That spark led to the creation of Mistwalker's latest venture, Fantasian Neo Dimension. Originally just titled Fantasian, this game debuted on Apple Arcade in 2 parts back in 2021. Fortunately, being a collector of physical games has taught me the art of patience. So after nearly 4 years of anticipation, I finally got my hands on the recently released Enhanced Edition, subtitled Neo Dimension. Fantasian follows Leo, a young man who awakens in a strange world with no memory of his past. Upon returning to his own world, he finds it plagued by Mecteria, an otherworldly infection that transforms organic matter into mechanical or synthetic forms. This sinister force spreads like a plague, threatening not just his world, but dimensions beyond. As Leo works to recover his lost memories, he gathers a colorful band of allies, each grappling with their own struggles and motivations. Together, they embark on a daring quest to halt the spread of Mecteria, facing unimaginable challenges and even defying the gods themselves. Staying true to its roots, Fantasian plays like a traditional turn-based JRPG, complete with random combat encounters as you explore the wilds. However, it introduces a few twists that set it apart from others in the genre. Early in the game, Leo obtains a device called the Dimengeon. When active, this device traps encountered enemies in another dimension, allowing players to postpone battles and face all the stored foes at once later on. Initially, the Dimengeon can hold up to 30 enemies before forcing an engagement, but it can be upgraded twice through side quests to increase its capacity to 50 enemies. During Dimension battles, special orbs occasionally appear on the battlefield, granting perks such as extra turns, stat boosts, or the ability to cure ailments. This mechanic pairs seamlessly with the game's aiming system, which rewards players for strategically aligning their attacks to maximize damage across multiple enemies in these large-scale battles. Of the 8 playable characters, 3 can be active in your party at any given time. Unless a battle is tied to a specific character's storyline, you can typically switch active characters as needed without penalty. As you might expect, each character has their own specialty, whether it's support, physical or special attacks, restorative abilities, or AoE skills. Additionally, abilities can often be aimed in unique ways. For example, while some abilities can target a single enemy or pierce through multiple foes in a straight line, some magic spells can follow a curved trajectory. In the first half of the game, new abilities are unlocked through leveling up. However, in the second half, each character gains their Divine Artifact, a powerful item unique to them, which grants access to their own skill tree, known as growth maps. As characters level up, they earn skill points that can be allocated within their growth maps to increase base stats and unlock new skills. The points can be reallocated at any time. Some nodes on the growth map are initially locked and require special items called Gates of Intellect to unlock. These hidden items correspond to specific nodes and must be found to fully utilize each character's potential. Another way to enhance your characters is through their equipment. Each character can equip a weapon, armor, and a jewel, with the second jewel slot unlockable via the growth maps. Jewels come in 3 varieties, boosting stats, enhancing defense, and providing unique perks respectively. They can be obtained as battle rewards, discovered in treasure chests, or purchased in shops. Some rare jewels, however, are tied to a special mechanic, fulfilling unique requirements set by special enemies called Funi. Weapons and armor also play a vital role in character progression. Some items distinguished by their yellow font in the inventory can be upgraded using rare materials. However, this feature becomes available only after progression in a specific side quest, unlocking the upgrade terminal. These upgrades not only increase the base stats of equipment, but can sometimes add additional effects, making them invaluable for tougher battles later in the game. Beyond its unique gameplay mechanics, Fantasian stands out in another significant way: its art. The game features an incredible soundtrack by the legendary Nobuo Uematsu, stunning character designs, and beautifully rendered cutscenes. What truly sets it apart, though, is its environmental design. The game's diverse settings were crafted as real-life dioramas, painstakingly detailed, and then scanned into the game to create a unique and tangible aesthetic. I've said it before, but a distinctive art style can go a long way in capturing my interest, and Fantasian truly delivered something unique in that regard. But no game is without its flaws, so before we wrap things up, let's address where Fantasian stumbles. One of the first issues you'll notice is how the movement controls interact with the shifting camera angles in the overworld. As you transition between areas, the camera perspective changes, but your movement direction doesn't immediately adjust to match. Until you release and reapply the analog stick, your character moves as if the previous camera angle is still in effect. Another minor annoyance lies in the lack of clarity in some environmental details. Early in the game, you'll encounter chests that are clearly visible, but completely inaccessible. I spent far too much time trying to figure out how to reach them before resigning myself to the idea that they were likely meant to be accessed later. A similar issue arises in the second half of the game when you gain the ability to pilot the Uzra, opening up new areas to explore. However, one crucial detail escaped me: small openings in the cloud barrier that block access to the Sand Sea. Because I missed these openings, I ended up completing a whole slew of story and side quests before realizing I could enter this area, and by extension, tackle certain quests that really should have been addressed much earlier. But my biggest criticism lies in the latter half of the game, where some boss fights become absurdly tedious. Granted, Neo Dimension did add an easy mode, and perhaps I'm partly to blame for stubbornly refusing to lower the difficulty. However, these bosses didn't just feel challenging, they often felt unfair and frankly, unfun. After multiple attempts, you'll find these encounters demand highly specific strategies, forcing you to level grind and meticulously micromanage each character's growth map and equipment before even standing a chance.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
This leaves little room for creativity or flexibility in your approach. Even with optimized setups, you'll find yourself in battle for 15 to 20 minutes, only for your entire party to be wiped out by a sudden AoE attack. These fights are simply too long to justify the die and retry approach, and having to tailor your equipment and skills for each major encounter sucked much of the fun out of the challenge. To make matters worse, the XP rewards always felt disproportionately low compared to the effort required. Criticisms aside, I did enjoy my time with Fantasian and would recommend it, particularly to fans of old-school Final Fantasy. That said, I'd advise being prepared for the overly tedious boss battles, and if needed, don't hesitate to consult an online guide to save yourself some frustration. If you're someone who checks average completion times before starting a game, be aware that How Long to Beat's main story estimate is wildly inaccurate, likely based on players who only completed the first part on Apple Arcade. Ultimately, this game is Final Fantasy in all but name. If that's your jam, you're in for a treat with interesting characters, a compelling narrative, and unexpected twists, exploring themes like chaos, order, and identity, while not shying away from a bit of classic JRPG silliness to balance its more serious moments. If you've played Fantasian, let me know in the comments what boss chapped your ass the most. And if you haven't played it yet, does this sound like a game that's up your alley? If you've enjoyed what you've witnessed here today, please consider supporting the channel by leaving a like and subscribe. And if you're so inclined, check out some of my other content. And as always, I hope you'll join me in the next one. I've been Punch and Funk. Keep it funky, fellas.